nothing like a little red hot chili peppers and Anthony Kiedis to wake you up in the morning. Welcome back. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro.
Sometimes I feel
Oh, God, please don't do that. Please. Oh, we just lost all of our listeners in 5 seconds. Thank you, JD. Anyway, welcome back to the show. It is Thursday, and you know what that means. It's time for a little TMZ action. TMZ Sports' very own Mike Babcock, who joins us every week. Mike, thanks so much for joining us again. I appreciate it. How's it going?
What's up, Mikey?
How are you?
I guess doing a lot better than Reese McGuire. Yeah, I know. This is a story where you have to laugh a little bit.
Not.
That's true. Apparently, Reese McGuire likes to masturbate in his car. He plays for the Blue Jays. What the hell happened here? What can you tell us about this story, Mike?
Reese McGuire, who was a first-round pick also, so a guy who had some talent here. Yeah, last week he was arrested because somebody saw Reese allegedly pleasuring himself in his vehicle and called the police. And when police arrived, they found Reese sitting in his truck with his sweatpants around his ankles, and had some pornography, let's say, on his telephone. He was obviously embarrassed, as you would be if you got caught in that compromising situation. Was vehemently apologizing to the police, and very strange. He was in town because the Blue Jays, obviously, pitchers and catchers reporting, either today or yesterday, and he was there for work.
All right, so I have a lot of questions here. I have a lot of questions here, Mike. First of all, for the time it took for somebody to call the police, to the time the police got there, why wasn't he able to finish? That's my question.
Right. I don't know if he didn't have on the right video.
I think it was
You're right.
stage fright.
So,
I mean, but this isn't new for professional sports. I mean, Eddie Griffin was caught doing this, I believe, in the back of his Escalade a couple years back as well.
And, so was Kellen Winslow also, outside of Boston Market.
Can we find out if he was pleasuring himself to Derek Jeter or not? How do we get that information?
I don't have any information.
I think you have to subpoena his Google history, Brian.
Anything is possible now.
So who called the police? Was it just like a fan or
a stranger? It was a woman who said that he was looking at her in like a weird, creepy way.
Oh man!
She called the cops.
That's rough.
Right. He didn't finish, so he was hanging around, and it takes a couple minutes at least for the cops to get there. But he was still there.
So he
got out of the car. They said it was apparent that he had an erection, and so he kind of caught red-handed.
So he was arrested, and he was a little blue. We'll put it. He was a little blue when he got arrested.
Right. Well, as you would, no one wants to get arrested.
Oh my God! Well,
exposure of sexual organs is the name of the charge.
He's going to have post-traumatic stress disorder next time he tries to choke the chicken. I would imagine that's fair to say. All right.
The cop probably has PTSD. Everyone does. The woman who called,
Well, and thankfully it wasn't a child. Hopefully, thankfully it wasn't a young child. Or something.
Speaking of,
do not do this.
No. Yeah. Speaking of beating the buzzer, let's talk a little bit about Alex Bregman and Jose Altuve. They're apparently Correa also is denying using these buzzers with this cheating scandal with the Astros. But however, a few players are apologizing. What can you tell us about this, Mike?
Finally, for the first time, look, we know we had A.J. Hinch last week gave his interview, but we hadn't heard from any of the Houston Astros players, and I think it's pretty well accepted now that almost the whole team, if not the entire team, position players at least, were getting some sort of benefit from the cheating operation that they were running. But today, the players, Carlos Correa included, Altuve and Bregman as well, met with the media, and they did apologize. There's been a lot of talk about the buzzers, and it was kind of heated up last week when A.J. Hinch did get that interview, when he was directly asked if they used buzzers, and he didn't say no. He said MLB did their investigation. He kind of was very vague in his answer. So today, when these players got up there, they made it clear that there were no buzzers, nothing wearable was used. They categorically denied any of that, and they apologized. They said sorry. And that was it. A lot of people think it's long overdue, and fans have wanted to hear from the players for a long time now. But finally today, one of the first days of spring training, these guys talked.
Interesting. Well, we'll continue to monitor that story. I wanted to ask you a little bit about Colin Kaepernick. One of my biggest criticisms of Colin Kaepernick is that the guy's after money, right? I mean, he signs this big Nike deal, and now we learn that he's writing a book on his National Anthem protest. Is any of the money going to charity? Do you have any information on that? What can you tell us about this book?
That I don't know. I think there's a good chance, though, because this is what Colin has done in the past, that at least some of the proceeds would likely go to his foundation. But it's interesting because the criticism of Colin Kaepernick has been that he doesn't talk. You don't know where he stands on these issues. He doesn't give interviews, and when he does, it's very rare. He seems very guarded. So I do think that there is some excitement. There are people who are looking forward to hearing, to reading what he has to say and explaining, why he kneeled. This was an issue that polarized not just the NFL, but the entire country. And I think for the first time, we're going to get a look inside Colin Kaepernick's head and find out why he did what he did, why he made the decision to kneel. And furthermore, it's talking about making money. He's writing his book, but it's also like a Kaepernick publishing house that he's starting as well. So it's very likely that you're going to see other people, that he'll be publishing other books, from other authors out there. So not just a book for Colin, but other books as well.
Ah, so he's parlaying this into a business opportunity. I mean, I can respect that. Do you think he still has it? Do you think he actually has the ability to still be an NFL quarterback, Mikey?
Yeah, I think I don't know about a starting quarterback. I don't know if he could start at a high level. I think when you don't play for a few years, I think that has a real impact. But I certainly think that there are backups at the least out there that he's better than. Do I think it's going to happen? No, I don't think it's going to happen. I think the last nail in the coffin was the failed combine last season. So I don't think it's going to happen. But I do think from an ability standpoint that, he's one of the best 60 quarterbacks in the world.
So Tristan Thompson is saying that LeBron James, who is arguably probably the most naturally gifted athlete since Bo Jackson at the professional level in the United States, possibly in the world, apparently has a horrendous diet. Can you talk to me about that?
Yeah, he said he eats like bleep. His worst diet is that this guy has 5 pieces of French toast and, swimming in syrup and,
that sounds great.
Strawberries, bananas. I thought it sounds great to me. He eats 1 million eggs a day, and it's not what you'd expect from LeBron James or somebody who we all thought. I think, his body was a temple, and he watched what he ingested because he wanted to be the best athlete that he could be, and that means eating healthy. But no, and Tristan Thompson says that's not true. This guy eats like crap, which is all the more impressive because
exactly
he's able to do on the basketball, and he still looks tremendous.
Right? Yeah. No. Yes. So what if he was vegan? What if he actually had a decent diet? But I thought that he spent about $1 million a year on trainers and his body, so that doesn't really correlate.
Right. Well, maybe he eats the French toast and then he works out really hard and runs up and down on the court every night, and that's why he looks like he looks. But I was surprised. Yep. I didn't think, maybe once a week. I didn't think every day. That is pieces of French toast.
That is a bit surprising. If you're just joining us, Mike Babcock, TMZ Sports. Mike, a couple quick questions for you, then we'll let you go. Yeah. So the St. Louis Blues are in town today. They're actually playing the Vegas Golden Knights, the former, the Stanley Cup champions. And we had just a horrible story, very scary, that a player had to be revived with a defibrillator. Now we're learning, according to the Blues general manager. What can you tell us about this?
Right. Jay Bouwmeester, 36 years old, during the game the other night, collapsed on the bench, and it obviously looked very serious, extremely serious. But then we find out once the GM spoke, they actually had to revive him. So his heart had stopped, and he was essentially dead, in the arena. And thankfully, they had a defibrillator there. They were able to hook him up to it and shock him, and it got his heart going again. And because of that, he's alive. But extremely serious situation where this, Jay could have lost his life. He was as close as you could come to passing away, during a hockey game.
It's amazing that he regained consciousness immediately. I would imagine his heart stopped probably for not very long, because I'm not a doctor, but if you don't have oxygen to the brain for around a minute, you could be done. You could be a vegetable. So I would imagine if the people there with the Blues that saved his life, they must have worked really fast, I would imagine.
Oh, I think you're right, Brian. I think the key to this is that they were able to act so quickly, and because of that, you're right. maybe if they take a little longer, maybe they are still able to save his life. But who knows what after effects, as a result of not having the oxygen to the brain, who knows what happens. But I think because they were able to get the heart going again so quickly that not only saved his life, but they probably saved the quality of his life going forward.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so weird because you never know why this happened. But I think we all could agree, if you're an NHL hockey player, you're the top 1% of people as far as how strong you are and the type of physical shape you're in. This is just really, really bizarre. And this guy's been an NHL player for a while now, so this is really weird. I'll be interested to find out what happened, but I wouldn't be surprised if this guy never, sadly, if he never played in the NHL again, if he has some sort of heart ailment or something, but we'll have to wait and see. Before we let you go, Mike, I just wanted to ask one more question about Kobe Bryant. We've learned now that the Staples Center is going to be honoring Kobe, and I believe it's going to be on a Monday, if I'm not mistaken. Can you talk to us a little bit about this celebration of life for Gigi, Kobe, and, of course, the 7 others that lost their life on that fateful day, which is now, a few weeks ago. It's amazing how time passes.
Yeah, it goes fast, right? It's not this upcoming Monday, Brian. The Monday after, which is the 24th, and that day was not picked by accident. You have 2, Gigi's number, 24, Kobe's number, obviously 2020 here. 20 years with the Lakers. But yeah, it's going to be a big deal. There are told whole NBA teams that are going to be traveling out. And as far as the performers and the speakers, that stuff is still being put together. But they have the biggest of the big people that want to participate, that want to speak in this. So it's going to be quite a show. Let's face it, 20,000 people is not going to be enough to contain the amount of people that want to go to this. I don't think there's any building in Los Angeles that's big enough. But there will be people who will be able to buy tickets, and they'll be fortunate as they get to be part of this. But it's going to be a big-time event with a lot of big stars, and it's going to be an emotional night.
So, Mikey, the Dodgers just picked up Mookie Betts and David Price from the Red Sox in a trade. What have you heard about that trade in LA? And in your opinion, is it a World Series or bust type of situation? Because I think it is. I think the Dodgers win the World Series next year.
I don't know if they are going to win the World Series or not, but the lineup is a mean lineup. They're stacked. But yeah, I think that's the feeling in LA. I think you have a lot of people who feel like they have missed out on the last 3-4 years, that they should have gotten at least one World Series out of these seasons here, and do get the feeling that the people of LA believe it is World Series or bust. There's no, a lot of times you make the World Series successful season. I don't get the feeling that that's the case here in LA. I think it's time in the LA fans' eyes that they win a World Series.
Mike, always appreciate it, my man, when you take some time to join us. Thank you so much. Have a fantastic weekend. Look forward to catching up with you next week. Okay, my man?
Thanks, fellas. We'll talk then.
Appreciate it. All right.
Thanks a lot, Mikey.
He is the man. He's going to be a movie star one day. He's just too good looking. That would be Mike Babcock from TMZ Sports. I'm sorry,
He simply has just exceptional hair.
Yeah. Well, before you know it, Rush Limbaugh will be saying, "Hey, Brian Shapiro on this local radio station called another man good looking. Get him off the radio." Mr. Homophobe himself. Anyway, we'll take a quick break, and when we come back, it's our producer, Jason Stein's favorite portion of the show. It's called Brian Shapiro Hate Mail. I see him smirking in his little office right now as I speak. We're going to read off some of that hate mail on our YouTube page when we come back. You're listening to The Vegas Take right here on the all-new 101.5 FM, 720 AM, KDON.